Hi, this is Ria Flanagan, and I am here with the Happiness Playbook series podcast. I just wanted to share how excited I am as the holidays are approaching and all of that to have another really special guest. It's very interesting. I was just sharing with her that yes, I published a book and happiness is an inside job playbook. And I was like, okay, I got to get a podcast and I got to promote it. And then it became actually about getting to know amazing stories from other people and getting to actually kind of tie in how like-minded people that have their own journey and their own gifts. And it really just became less about promoting my book right now and more about like the journey of being in the here and now with whoever the guest is, whatever the story is. I learn from every podcast, usually many things. I also love giving this to my community for it's something that anyone can tune into and learn and get something from. And if you enjoy the guests, you can get their books and we'll share website links and all of that. She was just sharing that she's out there, she's marketing, and I know it's tough, right? You do this work, you think, okay, I'm done. I wrote the book, let it fly, but then you're like, no, you have to teach it how to fly. You have to market it, right? That's what we're doing. But it creates this opportunity, and especially in the independent market, to actually get to talk to people all across the world, all across the US that I may not have had this opportunity otherwise. So it's very interesting in that way, and that we have this platform, this ability through technology that I can see you, I can talk to you, I can connect to you. And yet, are you in New York right now?
I live in Jersey, on the Jersey Shore.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, and
Yeah,
I'm here in Arizona. So how cool, right? We're on different time zones, but we get to
yeah.
come together and then share with our community, useful pieces of our journey. And so yeah, I've been really geared to be with like-minded people. I'm a therapist working with trauma and addiction. And I'm gonna let Gina, she's lovely. She is lovely. And I'm just excited. I'm gonna let her tell you a little bit about her story and about what drove her to write her book, and I'll be asking questions along the way. But yes, please, Gina, tell us a little bit about what brings you to my podcast to share about your journey.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Ria, for inviting me and for having me as your guest. It's a joy and it's a privilege. And I love what you said. It's the here and now. And that's what I try to practice. It's here and it's now.
Yeah.
And in the here and now, in my is my faith and is my God. And then I just love your podcast, Inside Job, or the Happiness
Happiness.
Playbook. My God, I could have used your book 30, 40 years ago, but that's not the case in my story. And I've come to learn that. I've come to learn I had to go through a lot of pain and suffering and tragic, tragic incidents, trauma, before I could be sitting here with you to say, hey, yes, there is hope and there is strength within us that could get us through anything. And so your book, I'm probably going to get it because I still need it because it is an inside job. And my story goes, yes, I was raised on Long Island. I'm a New York girl, Long Island girl, raised of one of 8 children, grew up with a great family. No complaints with my family. My parents loved us unconditionally. The only thing I would say in my growing up is that my 7 siblings were very athletic, popular, good looking, and I was the seventh child, and I was born with a lot of physical problems. Physical that which I was not athletic. I didn't think I was popular and I didn't think I was good looking. And when I developed that as a kid within myself, and I speak for myself because I thought every kid is like that. But for myself, I had the poor me syndromes. I did not like myself, the insecurities. And so yes, I was very popular if I was a people pleaser, putting myself out there, started drinking. Yeah, let's be with the cool kids. I want to be cool. And I couldn't fit into any group in school, I felt. I was friends with everyone, and everyone loved me because I had a great smile and I kept that pain and that insecurity inside me. And that kind of went along in my whole life. It just kept building up, building up. I went away to college. My father, we were very blessed because my dad put us all through of us through college. So it was, and my degree was social work because I wanted the easiest degree because by nature, I do have a heart of giving. I have a heart of service. I would talk to anyone in New York. I would give my money to everyone and talk and talk. And so in college, I not only got a college degree, but that's where I developed drinking, where I was just a party person, and that was my life. That was my life. So when I left college, my
Can
parents,
I can I share just as you
yeah, please do.
yeah, just for our community, and just as I was hearing you share that, that young piece of not feeling, maybe that you fit in, and trying to, be a people pleaser, and all the and cover up the pain, and I really talk a lot about how with trauma and all of this, it's underneath the addiction, right? It's underneath, so many people will judge, somebody that's using substances, or it could be gambling, or it could be sex, or it could be whatever it is, right? People will judge that, but it's like, but if you have compassion for the pain underneath of that, for that person, right?
And it's so true. And back then, I didn't look at it as pain. I didn't look at it like I'm in a trauma, or I mean, yes,
Sure.
I've had several surgeries. Yes, many car accidents, and yeah, and instead of like saying, well, I'm in pain, I need help, I was saying, okay, what's going to happen to Gina this time? It was sort of like, I always felt like I always say, like, there's that commercial, you give it to Mike, he eats everything. Give Gina all the suffering and she'll suffer everything. And so that was sort of my role, or my identity, that I built within myself. My parents didn't. I mean, my parents, yes, my mom felt sorry for me because I was in most car accidents, surgeries, this, I was born with this and that, but I always smiled, never complained.
Well, there's a culture of that we live in too, right? There's a culture of suck it up, right? Or people don't want to hear it, or put on your
Yeah.
smile, or just get through it. And so you're not able to process or have the support
No.
you need.
And at that age, who would think of processing?
No, of
When
course. You
no.
don't even know what that is. Of course.
You don't know what that processing is. So that's it. I can't blame it on anyone back then, but that's how it was. And so, but that took me even through college. And then, after college, I graduated. I don't know how, but I did, with a degree, and I went to go live with my parents. At this point, they retired from New York and they moved out to Pennsylvania. Okay, I'll go live with, and I'm 23 at this time. So by now, I thought I would have a guy in my life. I thought I'd be getting married shortly because that's the norm. Or I saw that in my older siblings. That was the norm.
We all want to fit in. We all want to fit in.
Yeah,
We
we
don't want to
do.
be different, or necessarily. We want to feel like we're part of the tribe, right? We're part of our pack,
Part
our people.
It's like that song, you search for love and you find it in all the wrong places. That's it. I was looking for the love. I was looking for the acceptance about, uh, and it was mostly with peers, mostly with societies, most, with the culture around me. And so I graduated. I go home to live with my mom and dad. I needed to get a job. And what did I do? I go to bartending. I was like, okay, I'll bartend because I'm, I like to talk, personality. I listened to their problems and I got used to that. And then I'm also in the environment of what I feel comfortable in, the drinking, the stupidity. I hate to say it, that kind of environment, because I'm like, okay, this is where I thought I belong.
Well, it's
But
like
then,
you're medicating all the pain, right? It feels
yeah,
fine. Everything feels
it
fine.
feels, yeah. And it wasn't like I was drinking every day, but it was just that mentality, it was just in the atmosphere. Okay. I
It's
mean, yes, I did
normalized, right? It's normalized
normalize.
when you work in bars and restaurants. And I
Yeah.
did. I lived in LA, and I worked, through my master's program in restaurants. So yeah.
Yeah, and plus the money. You can't beat
Mhm.
it back then. I mean, now I can't imagine what they make, but back then you're making money. You don't deal with the government. You don't deal with the stuff that goes on with it. So you take their money, give them advice, and you go on, and you feel good. And but during that time, I was trying to make a career. I was thinking, okay, I'm I have a personality plus. So where can I go? I like bartending, so I wanted to join I wanted to join the cruise ships. I wanted to get a job on the cruise ship, be Julie McCoy, love boat. Like, this is it. I'm gonna find it. I'll find my man. This is my life. Everybody likes me. believe it or not, I'm short, I'm cute and petite. So
Oh, cute. So cute.
so
Love the Love Boat reference. I do remember that show. Yes. It was
yes.
always a
So
journey.
yes, and that was it. But then during that, as I'm doing all these applications, okay, I'm going. My mom gets diagnosed with cancer, and I was home with my brother and my dad. My brother goes off to college the day after, first semester, first year, because my mother had my younger brother when she was 49 years old. So it was so he goes off to college, dad is home, Gina's home, ready to, doing these applications, and I'm like, I can't. I got to stay with my mom. I got to take care of her because she had bone cancer and she was diagnosed with 4 to 6 months to live. So once again, I'm home. I put everything else aside and I was with my dad taking care of her, and she died in 5 months. So I was
Oh,
with her. We both were with her. My siblings were great. They came in and out the best that they could, but yet we were like on the front line with my mom.
so
Uh,
hard. So hard.
yeah.
Yeah.
And at that time, so I'm about 23, 24, bartending, don't really have a life really, but taking care of my mom, and she dies on me. And
Mm.
it's like, how can this be? I still don't have I mean, I didn't have any. Yes, I had my dad. My dad and I developed a great relationship. I mean, I don't regret or anything. I'm so glad it was a gift. But at the time, I didn't have anything inside me to know that this was a gift. All I know is that when my mom died, I missed like, what happened? How could she die? Why did she die?
Mhm.
We were raised Catholic. I went to
Mhm.
church, but yet I didn't have that relationship. I did not have anything inside me to cope with it. So after mom died, I was hanging to my dad. Eventually, I went back to bartending. I was just numb, more pain to numb. Now at this point, I'm searching. I'm still searching. Where's mom now? Where is she? I want her back. And I went back into the Catholic Church because everybody said she's with God. And I was
Mhm.
like, who the heck is this God person? Oh, he's
Mhm.
in the church. I go into the church, in my mom's church, and I said, God, they say you're here. I don't believe you. I want my mom. You could go outside. I mean, I
Mhm.
was just like in such a state. That's where I was. And I'm in tears, crying and crying. And how can this be? Why? I mean, of course, my ambition to be a cruise director went out the window.
Yeah.
Everything went out the window. It's like,
We
it
make
happens to
plans and
me.
then life has other plans. Isn't that true?
Exactly. I always felt like, and I don't feel it, but it's like it always happens to Gina, that's how
Mhm.
I and so but anyhow, as I was searching for the meaning of life, I came back to my Catholic roots. So I'm like, okay, I go from one extreme of being a bartender to the other extreme as being a church fanatic. Everybody's going to hell, like this. I ended up becoming a nun. I joined the convent. I was a sister, a Franciscan sister in the South Bronx for 12 years. This is it, Ria. This is it. This is my life. You would think, right? You
Mhm.
would think, and
Mhm.
I would think.
Mhm.
But yet, as I said, I was there for 12 years. It was a lot of, I endured a lot of pain and suffering, a lot of, I wrote it all in my book. It's in my book,
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't have
and
to relive all of that here, but it just, such a transition, right? From bartending and this to, now I'm becoming a nun, right? Like you're
now, yeah,
just
I,
life has other
and the
plans for us sometimes.
I know. And my the community I joined, we worked in evangelization. We worked with the poor. So it was up my forte, you know what I mean? Like I love serving, working with the poor and everything. So I mean, I there were blessings, but then yet there was a lot of difficult challenges, I say now. And in the long run, I felt I was emotionally abused, and in the long run I felt I was kicked out, but they probably wouldn't say that. But it came to a point, and I mean, I don't mind sharing, but that's like a lot. Like I shared
Yeah,
in my
yeah.
book, and I
Yeah.
and it's
You don't
it's
have to
something.
relive it for sure,
Yeah,
but
but
people can
yet
read the book, right? And they can hear
yeah,
your story.
it
And what
yeah,
drew
no,
you to writing it? Like what really drew
well,
you to telling the
it
story?
drew me to write it. So after I got kicked out of the convent back in 2008, I was lost, a
Mhm.
lost pup. I'm in my fees now probably, and I didn't know how to live. I didn't know how to live life. I didn't, because we lived a very austere life. I mean, I slept on the floor. We didn't have TV. We didn't have luxury, nothing like that. So going from into this world's like, but yet I went to live with men with disabilities as a house mom, men and women. So it was sort of like a transition time to breathe, to get, because I was broken. I was broken, and I didn't know who I was. Talking about it. Back then I needed something, inside job. What I come to look and learn is that there was a soul sickness in me. I was empty. I was empty, empty, empty. And I filled it with what? And then I filled it with the convent. I mean, that was God's way, God's will. It is what it was. I don't regret it because I reconciled with all from it, and I've learned a lot. And I look back in hindsight, oh yeah, maybe that wasn't a good fit, but I did it. It was something to learn. So as I continued, and that's where being among men and women with disabilities, that's where you get healing. That's like the beginning of my healing journey, with not even realizing it. They loved you unconditionally. It was just, and so I did that for 2 years. And then I was tired, overwhelmed of serving as much as I love to serve. It was like, okay, I want to do what Gina wanted to do. And that's when Gina came to the beach here, Jersey Shore.
That's what I was missing throughout that story, is what you, right? Is you really loving you. There's sort of this taking care of everybody else in this story, this theme,
Yeah.
and yet where were you in the story? And so it sounds like
Still lost, still lost, still pain. So then I come to the Jersey Shore. I didn't want to go back into human service jobs. I was tired. Like you said, I wanted to take care of Gina. Gina lived at the beach, but I had to learn how to rent an apartment. I had to learn a lot because I was just so foreign of being in the world, so to speak, and living the world. Because, by this time, okay, I'm not a sister. I'm not going to become a sister. Like I had to go through a lot of reconciliation within me, or realizing, okay, it is what it is. Because I was a very well known sister. I was very well loved. Everybody, I mean, how could you not? I had personality plus, even with a
of
habit on.
course, yeah.
But anyhow, I come to the Jersey Shore. Of course, I needed to get a job. And my dad, still being alive at the time, he was so gracious in helping me out, and finance with just support and love and everything, and trying to be on my own. I'm like 43 and whatever. And so I decided the only job I knew how to do before convent was bartending. So I went back to bartending. I was like, okay, this is it, So I was a bartender, nun, and then back to bartending. And so once again, searching, thinking maybe this is it, or I really didn't know what it was. But then within like a month of bartending, a gentleman walked into the bar, Danny. Maybe I'm called to get married. Maybe this is my vocation, to date. Wow, he likes me. I like him. He's a great guy. We dated. At first, I didn't tell him I was a nun. I had to, because prior to that, I would tell guys I was a nun because I was looking to date, and they never called me. I don't know why, but that's fine. But Danny, he was a retired cop, and we just met. We got together, and we're like, wow. And he found out I was a nun. It didn't scare him. And then I come to find out that he was an alcoholic, and he was drinking at the time. And at the time, I didn't know really what an alcoholic was. I thought an alcoholic was somebody under the bridge with a paper bag. That's
Not
just
the
it.
functioning alcoholics that we have everywhere, right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I learned about alcoholism through him. I went to Al-Anon, a 12-step program. He told me to go, and all I kept thinking, can't you stop drinking? Can't you stop? But he did stop, and of course, when he did stop, he was a great guy. I mean, alcoholics or any kind of addiction people, when they're free from their addiction, or sober or in recovery, they're great people.
I say they're my favorite people in recovery, because they've done the deeper work to stay there.
Exactly, exactly. And so I did see him trying, and he did. And matter of fact, he found sobriety in Arizona. Yeah, and a place by in Phoenix. He went to a 90-day place over there, and he found it. Within his 60 days. He was real excited because he got a job, he got a sponsor, he's working the program. And he said to me in Jersey, he goes, "Would you come out here?" And I said, "I'd go anywhere to support your sobriety. Timbuktu, we'll go living in Arizona."
Wow.
So that was so he came back in July of 2012 to pick up his stuff, get in the car, and he said, "You want to come with me for the ride cross country to bring his stuff?" And I said, "I got to work." His mom went, "Don't worry, Danny, I'll be there in a month, and we're going to live a good, happy, joyous life." Because I'm learning and everything. And in his stories that I could remember that morning as he was leaving, we blessed the car with holy water, said a prayer. He goes off. And the next morning, I get one of those phone calls saying that him and mom were in a tragic car accident in Indiana. The mom died, the truck burned up, and Danny was half burned and don't know if he was going to survive.
Oh,
So I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Like here, I had
tragic.
my white picture
Right.
fence, living with a man I love. So
Wow.
ultimately, and that too is, of course, in my story. And I did go out to Indiana to be with him. He did survive the accident, but lo and behold, as you work, I know you work with addiction, you said, with people that he saw his mother burn up. He didn't get knocked out in this accident, and he
Mm.
was 60 days sober at the time. He did stay sober, and then he was burnt in half of his body. And when we were in Indianapolis, we reached out to the rooms of AA and Al-Anon to get that support. And we had a whole slew of people, Jim and Brenda, like all these people came to support us, did not know them. They offered their home, their cars, because we decided, okay, we'll stay in Indiana because it's good support of AA, and that's where his burn unit is, because he still had to continue to go for therapy. We got an apartment, a very inexpensive, got a
Gina,
job.
so good. I just wanted to highlight this, so great for other people to hear that are maybe newly getting sober or realizing they have, need support around stopping drinking or substance use or anything. Just hearing the support of the meetings, right? The 12-step meetings, the communities, and it's really powerful, finding the groups, finding the place that you feel at home in, because we do need support. And so hearing that you reach out, that you utilize that support, people want to help people ultimately. So
Yeah.
finding those safe places to do that. And so it's so great that you did that. So just want to highlight that. Thank you for sharing.
No, thanks, Ria, because it's so true. It was two people that did not know us,
Mhm.
came to visit us, and then we needed a place to stay. We needed to be close to the hospital. And the guy, Jim, says, "My wife and I would like for you guys to stay with us.
Wow.
But we don't have a car. We'll give you a car." And they both had 25 years of sobriety at the time. So, and you just, it was just like, wow. And they had
Mhm.
friends and they had friends, and boy, did they welcome us, and they hugged us and they loved us.
I
And it
love
was
this.
such,
I love that. Like I'm jumping in because I so relate.
yeah,
Like even when we're going through the hardest times and we feel like, oh my gosh, nothing's working out, what's going to happen? Like just that moment of even like reflecting back on our lives and going, yeah, remember like people showed up or it worked out or somebody, right? The angels, the people,
yeah,
the support, like really noticing that and those moments. And even when I'm going through like something and I don't know where to go or what, I know that like it will come. And sometimes I'm just like, okay, like I'm waiting, you know what I mean? Like, but I think that
no,
knowledge, right? That it will, like the help will be there. If you're open to receive it, people do want to help. And
yeah,
I think, just that you received it, right? You were able to take that and accept that as well is a big part of it. So
yeah.
again,
It's so true what you're saying. And I do encourage, if there is so much support, healthy support. It was a healthy area of a healthy support that truly loved us. So, and they got us back on our feet. We got an apartment. But then, as you would been familiar with this, the disease, Danny started drinking again. And someone, a counselor, said to me, "How could he not if he saw his mother burn up?" I
yeah.
mean, any person, if you see someone burn up and you can't do nothing for them,
Well, and
it's
also, like, not everybody knows about EMDR or somatic experiencing these trauma modalities that now are more like talked about and people know more about them or educated in my book, like I talk all about that
Mm.
because if you don't, you can get sober, you can have community, but if you don't have a way to address the traumas, that can really haunt,
Yeah.
right? And bring somebody back for sure to addiction.
Yeah. So when he did, I went crazy in my own kind of my own disease. And so I kind of gave him the ultimatum, like, go get sober. How can you do this? You saw your mom, dad, God saved you from this accident. Cause I mean, he literally burned, and everything. And so not that we separated. I just wanted him, I thought if I kicked him out, he'd go get help, but I kicked him out. He continued to do his drinking and said, but anyhow,
And we
make a real
can't
long,
make anyone, right? Like
yeah,
always,
you can't.
for the other
At that
counselors
time,
out there, for anybody that loves someone,
no,
we can offer
you
support
can't.
in your health, right? Like I support your
Yeah,
recovery, but we can't make anyone, right? It's their ultimately their choice, and again, like we can't make them, and there's powerlessness there too
yeah,
it's also not our job to
yeah.
do it. Like me,
Eh,
yes, it's my job as a counselor, but again, I still can't make anyone, right?
And that's so true, Ria. But like in hindsight, like when I was in it, I didn't have any tools because I was sick myself. I didn't still didn't have that inside job work that I should have had that I have today. So my reaction to Danny was like, it wasn't coming from my heart. It wasn't coming from compassion. So he does leave. We do get engaged. We got engaged before all this, and we have a date set, but ultimately, I found him dead a month before our wedding day. So he died from this disease. So
Oh,
now I'm like, I'm shot.
horrible.
You could have, I'm just dead. I am so dead too. This all happened in Indianapolis. And thank God for Jim and Brenda being there. It was a God wink because they happened to be there when I found him dead, and we had the cops and everything like that. And
So
so
much trauma, so much trauma.
yeah. And so they took me under his wings. And then now the question you had asked me, when did I start writing this book? Because about a few months after Danny died, I was dead. I ended up, I was in that summer, I was at my niece's wedding, which I was just leave me like that. I was at my sister's lake house, and I just started writing. And so I wrote all the pain that I experienced with Danny and everything. And then all of a sudden, all the pain from the sisters came up. And then all the pain from my, the child, my physical,
Waves,
everything.
just waves.
Waves of pain, the why me's, the look at me's, the insecurities. Look at me, I was falling. And I wrote 180 pages in a matter of 3 weeks of just handwritten. And I put that aside. I continue my journey, so to speak, or I don't know how I did it, but I did come back to the Jersey Shore without Danny, without his mom. One would say, I was like flatlined. I was dead. I did not want to live. I thought, honestly, Ria, this was the state I was going to live for my whole life, is to be miserable. And I really felt that. And you could have said to me, oh, there's a little, sometimes you could see a little glimmer of hope. No, not Gina. And so I did, somehow I went into an AA meeting. It was an open speaker meeting.
I was just gonna say, what kept you going? How'd you get through it? Because you're still here with us, thank goodness.
It is because all I know is that I wanted to die every night. I said, Lord, I don't want to wake up. And then the next morning I'm like, oh crap, I'm up. What am I gonna do? I was just like moving. I did get a job, I was working as a social work, different places, but I was just I was an unhappy, confused, lost soul. And so I go into this AA meeting because now my mission was, why are these sober people alive and Danny's not? So there was that was a mission. I want to find out why you guys are sober and Danny's not. And so I sat in this meeting in the back and I'm crying and nobody knew who I was because it was an open speaker meeting. And then afterwards, a gentleman came up to me and talked to me, and it so happens that he knew Danny, and he invited me to go to this other meeting, which is an AA meeting. It's not an open speaker meeting, it's a closed meeting for AA. And I said, but I'm not an alcoholic. He goes, but just come and just say the desire not to pick up. I said, but I'm not the alcoholic here. So I had no one. I was like, what do I do? So I go into this room. It is by the beach, which, was a benefit to be by the beach. I go into these meetings. I say that Gina, the desire not to pick up, and I just kept going. But I was filled with tears, filled with anger, filled with resentment. I did not want to talk to anyone. I mean, if you talk to
You're
people
stuck.
that
You're stuck in it, right? You're stuck in it.
I was just so, yes, exactly. And then it got me upset to hear these people who were sober and they were still jerks. I'm like, I don't understand. Why? Why you? And then I also would say that if my eyes could kill, everyone would be dead because I was just so angry I was just so angry. But as one day at a time, as time went on, I'm a slow learner, Ria. I'm a slow learner with everything because I was going to this meeting for about 10, 11 months, not thinking I was an alcoholic, but I would still go every day and I would hear, and in the beginning, yes, was full of anger. And as time, people kind of heard my story and then they would come up to me, and then, I talked about Danny because some of them knew Danny. And then they would come up to me, talk about God because, it's a spiritual program. And I said, don't talk to me about God because at this point I hated God with a passion. And I say that I hate it. It's okay. And people are like, oh no, you can't hate him. No, I do. No, what he's done in my life, I do. And then I've also said that I married God, so I know who he is. You know what I mean? It wasn't like that. We're divorced. Right now, he's on the couch. I'm like, it was a divorce from God, but now I'm like, it's like any kind of divorce, having that anger issues.
I'm sure a lot of people can relate to you, right? A lot of people have divorced God or right have shut God out or do not no longer have a connection or don't believe and maybe because why are there starving children or why is this or right
Yeah.
and there's a million questions around that. So I'm sure a lot of people can relate to being in that space.
Exactly. And at first I was sort of like, oh, how can I hate God when I was a nun, like this? And to other people too. And I'm like, no, no, I says I realized it was okay. And then on April 2nd, 2015, I had raised my hand in a meeting and I said, my name is Gina and I am an alcoholic. Because I come to find out because somebody had approached me saying, Gina, what's your relationship with alcohol? You come here every day. You don't go to Al-Anon, which maybe that would have been a better fit because you have Danny, but you come here every day. You share, what? And I'm like,
So there's a part of you though, right, that chose AA and not Al-Anon, right? There's a part of you that had the truth.
yeah.
And I think working with addiction a lot, right? It's working with these different parts where one is like, no, I'm fine, denial, whatever. And then the other part, the truth is there. Right? We're just working on letting it out. And you had that moment, someone challenge you or question you. And so what a gift that was.
It was a gift. It was such a gift. But also when I said I was an alcoholic, it wasn't a joyful. I wasn't like, oh my God. Because at that moment, like I shared with all that pain and all that insecurity and all that fear and anger that I built up inside me opened up so wide that it was more painful. And that's where the inside job comes in to my life, where I didn't realize it. That's where I got to look at this pain, all this insecurity, all this fear, all this anger, resentment, whatever it is. And I can't run to a drink. I can't go medicate it. I can't
medicate it.
I can't do it. I also can't go to my self-pity couch to whine about it, to be that poor victimhood, which I was very good at. So that's where I see now, as I'm sharing with you and with your podcast, is that was the beginning of a working of my working inside job. And so I took all
Taking
these suggestions.
responsibility, right? There's taking that responsibility for ourselves.
Yeah.
What's my part in this?
Exactly. And of course it doesn't happen overnight. And of course I was a slow learner, doing the steps of it wasn't like I did the steps in 90 days.
Gina, some people never get where you are. And
no. And I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm very happy in my recovery. I'm very happy in how I worked my program. I am very happy today because this is my happy playbook that I'm happy.
You're a miracle. You're here.
I am. And I'm happy today that I'm free inside because when I said I was going to these meetings and I'm not an alcoholic, what captured me, the only thing that kept me going is that when I hear people in sobriety, there was a freedom in their voice. There was a freedom. And like I shared with you, by the time I went in those rooms, I was dead. There was no freedom. And this is my life that is going to be for the rest of my life. Just give it to Gina. She doesn't need to be happy, free, or anything. But my insides, that little person, little girl inside heard their freedom like, I want that. But how? I
I
can't
want to
have
be
it.
free. I want to be free too. That's beautiful, right? That there's that part again that wants to get out. And when we're numbing, when we're covering everything up,
Yeah.
that's a prison in itself, you know?
Yeah.
It's
And
not the solution.
yeah. And even covering up like not only with the alcohol, but I was a runner. I was a denial. I know it can't be me. I'm a sister. I'm this, I'm that. I'm an Economopolis, whatever it may be. No, it can't be me. It can't be me. Yes, it is me. So
Mhm.
today, God willing, in April, I'll have 10 years of sobriety. And
Yes,
yeah, and
congratulations.
it's a continuing an inside job work, continue to keep that freedom, to keep that happiness and joy. I've learned life goes on with me or without me, like it's not that.
Yeah, and
Uh,
has it been like 'cause my book is about daily practices, right? To the inside job, right? That it is like us taking the time for us, right? To be
yeah,
present, to do the work, to show up, to practice gratitude, to make choices, all of these things. And like there's like 41 different tools, but like for you, just sharing with the community and everything, like as you're coming into this and you're getting your freedom, what and you're working your steps and all that, what are daily practices that you even are using that you just to share with us that have been helpful for you to
yeah.
maintain the sobriety?
Yes, the first thing is that I don't pick up a drink. That's the first thing,
Yeah.
because when I don't pick up a drink, I could do everything else. And then I do have my daily routine in the morning. For AA, for 12 steps, I go to meetings every morning. I even host meetings. I get involved. I get involved in service work. But then
Purpose,
yet
purpose, right? There's purpose.
there's a purpose, because not only you're helping another person maybe struggling or not, whatever, you're helping yourself, because you come to realize that, and even talking with you, I am an alcoholic. It's like talking about it. It's not being ashamed about it, not regretting or not. It is what it is in my life.
Mhm.
And it is a miracle that I am today. So every day it's practice, practice, practice. I mean, when you said you have 41 tools, they're probably in my toolbox, when you said
Yeah.
about that, because it could be gratitude, it could be acceptance. And some of the tools is like, you know what, I don't want to deal with it today. And
Yeah.
that's okay. As long as I don't pick up a drink, I have
Yeah.
the greatest day. I could be in bed all day, and at the end of the night, if I didn't pick up a drink, it was the best day of my life. And of course I have sponsors, I have other people to talk to. I live with my boyfriend who's in recovery too. Danny brought him into my life. And so it's like I have someone to bounce off of. I have someone to be safe with if we go to a party with this alcohol, because I'm still arm's length away from a drink. I'm not
And
cured.
you've seen relapse, you've seen what it does to people. You're creating like support around you, you're accepting support, you're also supporting others. I mean, the giving back, having purpose in our lives, I mean, that increases happiness, right? When we feel like we're part of something, again.
Yeah.
So all of those things. And so,
So it
I'm
is.
sure.
And I just want to say one last thing is that I got reconnected with my God, with my higher power in such a strong way that ironically he's been the same God my whole life. You come to realize like he has, and I'm just so grateful. Like you said, that's one of the great tools. They say an attitude of gratitude keeps you sober. Anything helps you throughout life. An attitude of gratitude, no matter what it is. And just having a faith and having my higher power within me, and knowing that he's with me, and all that he's the one that I see. And so that's why with my book, Shake the Dust Off Your Feet and Walk, it's like that's where I started writing 2 years ago about my recovery and where I am today. And it doesn't end today, because I still need to continue to work and grow in that freedom and that joy, and to continue inside work job. It doesn't end, but now it's more on a light side. Like, yes, I can do it. And when challenges does happen, I look in hindsight, okay, God, what do you want me to learn? Is it a blessing, or what do you want me to learn from it, etc.? And so
The learning
there's
and the
so
growing
much more.
doesn't end, right? Like it doesn't This is a like, even with recovery, there's something else to learn, and there's always it's a
Yeah.
journey for sure. And I'm sure your book, right? I love the title, Shake the Dust Off Your Feet and Walk. I think that's, could speak to a lot of people. And just sharing your journey that other people too that have gone through tragedies and things like that, that you can do it, I can do it too, right? It gives hope, it inspires resilience in the human spirit and so many pieces. And another thing that I always ask, right, as a counselor is sort of with clients, I'm always like, whatever your faith is, whatever your beliefs are, do they support you, right? Like that's it's simply like, I'm not here to judge or tell you what to believe or not believe it. That's not my job. But part of this is what I do believe supportive. Is it supportive of my recovery? Is it supportive of my relationships, my community? Does it support me walking through life in my authentic self, right? And
Yeah.
so it sounds like when
So
you
true.
really got into your authentic self, you reconnected, you have a very powerful relationship. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your resilience,
Thank you.
your light. And I'm so glad you're here and that you made it and that you have love in your life and support.
Thank you so much. I'm very blessed today, and yeah, it's a constant journey, and it's good. It's all good. It's always good.
And we were
So
sharing just before, if it's okay, like just talking about what it is to bring I feel like, two authors here is like birthing a book, right? Like you bring this thing into the world, right? And you're sort of like, okay, now what? Where does it go? What is the mission? What are we doing? Did I just do that? Just no reason? Or is there, right? I think that there's a journey even in that, right? Like you're here, like we were
yeah.
talking about earlier, and maybe we would have spoken because you didn't have the book, I didn't have my book. And so whatever it is, I always think, like, my husband reminded me when I published my book, like, if you help one person, it was worth it, right?
That's exactly what Brian says. It's a success, and I'm like, but don't they know who I am? Don't they know my story?
Yeah,
But
you have to let go of that, right? Because
yeah, I know, I do. But it's a joke now. It's like, you know what it is? I do realize that my story is God's story, and God, all I want to do is touch one person, and whatever. He has it. He has it.
and
He's in control.
I can tell you've already touched so many more than one, so there's no doubt. And I'm excited.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm excited for listeners to come and hear your story here.
Yeah. And the last thing is the key, what I love is it's the passion of my heart to talk about it. And so I'm trying to even promote myself as an inspirational speaker. I could talk to anyone, grief, anyone, trauma, or just to give them that hope or whatever it may be. And it's a whatever God wants, I will do. But it's a
What helped?
passion of my heart.
Yeah, what helped you with, because you got sober, right? And that was really the key. Like you said, you just don't pick up a drink. That's like the key for everything. But as far as the traumas and the things, that you even talked about the guy that passed, so sad, right? That died, just that
Yeah.
he didn't get to deal with those things. Like, and even with sobriety, sometimes people don't, right? And it can bring them back to relapse. So what has helped you deal with the traumas?
My faith, my relationship. And I've learned, like, I do respect other people's faith or whatever they believe in. All I know is just it's not me and
Mhm.
it's not Johnny. It's not that. It's something greater. Whatever greater that person is, it is. And so when I had to reconnect with God and reconnect my way, I had to reconnect in that way of thinking because I wish I was like an atheist when I came into the program because I knew God. But yet, since I knew it wasn't me, and then in that dealing with my trauma, it's inviting God, like if it comes, that you do a lot of work, as you know, trauma work, and it's just through faith and hope and love, really, from my higher power, whom I choose to call God,
Mhm.
that has helped me through it. And in hindsight, I look at Danny today. I thank God for Danny. I thank God for his death because it brought me here. Granted, he died tragically, but that was his story,
Mhm.
and my story is that I am an alcoholic and it continued to unfold. And I'm just so grateful to God. And I know Danny's smiling upon me. So he's with me all the time.
Yeah, and you talked about in the beginning, you've really learned from the things, right? All the things that you've been through. And I always, in my book, I actually just list, I'm grateful for all of it, really. Like I'm all of it, the heartbreak, the pain, because I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be able to walk this walk with my clients, with the people that I work with, if I
Yeah.
hadn't been through my own traumas and my own pieces. Yeah, I don't wish on anyone, but at the same time, I wouldn't be who I am today, right? So as we love ourselves
Amen.
unconditionally, we have to accept all of it. And right. And if we're in resentment, if we're in anger about it, we're just in a battle with ourselves.
Yeah.
So
It's so true. And you learn a lot. Feelings you have to feel. That's what because you're human. So if I feel angry, okay, and then what do I do with it? I got these tools. Okay, no, I'm gonna hold no, it doesn't taste good. I don't want it anymore. Like what talk to someone, reach out to someone or write it out or there's always something and you go like we shared earlier, you could always start over, right?
yeah,
You could always start over throughout the day.
yeah,
Okay,
yep.
I'm gonna
Sometimes
start
I'm just
again.
like, yep, clean slate. Okay, let's just, it's all good.
Yeah,
So
it's
it
all
is,
good.
it
So
has been an absolute honor. Thank you so much. Let's share, some places that people can find you. I see, it looks like your website, www.
yes.
Great. And anywhere else, you were saying social media. Oh,
Social media, I am on Facebook, Gina Economopoulos, also on Instagram. I'm on TikTok.
look at you. I love it. Look at
And
you.
I think it's Gina slash Economopolis, because I'm just trying to put my first thing is the message of hope and strength. And of course, it's a great gift to give. That's what my motto is now. Shake the dust off your feet. And you can find it on Amazon. That's right now where it's.
Yeah, so if you were inspired as I was by Gina's story, go to Amazon, pick up a copy. Again, shake the dust off your feet and walk. It's just great. It's a great title and worth reading.
And it's short. It's short. It's short. It's real short. It's a thin book.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Wonderful. Thank you
So
again. It's
thank
an
you.
honor
No,
to
thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's an honor to get to know you. It's an honor to share your story with our community. And I have no doubt that there's people out there that it will help. So, again, this is the Happiness Playbook series. Thank you, everyone, for coming by today. It's live, well, not live actually, because we pre-record, but we post it 5 p.m., the happy hour on Monday. So come and check us out. And thank you so much for viewing us. Please subscribe, please please leave a comment of what you want to hear, learn, know more about, because we're here to give back to the community.